Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. My name is Nastasia, and I am in a new place. I moved. As you can probably tell because of the background is different and all that. I'm still trying to unpack everything, hence why there's a picture frame with some random family that is not mine, and I'm still getting, adjusted, but I at least have this little corner ready to film at. So I'm sorry that I've been MIA for like a weekish, but I am back and ready to film. And I'm super excited. Today we are talking about Ecclesiastes. Also, I'm in a twisty chair now, so I'm real hype about that. Talking about Ecclesiastes. So we are going to be talking about chapters 1 through 3. And if you want to follow along more in depth, you can always pause this video right here, go read chapter 1 through 3 really quick. It's not very long, it's like a couple pages. Sorry, there's so many noises right now. But if you want to just follow along with what I'm doing, then you can just stay tuned. But before I get into it, if you end up liking this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you never miss out on a video every time I post. One thing before I get into it, I wanted to let you guys know that I really want to start this kind of series of walking through the Bible with you. I can't promise that we'll get through it in a year or anything like that, nothing like that, but just the different books and walking through them and just my thoughts on them and stuff. I thought it'd be a fun thing to do, and a good way too that if you are new to the Bible or trying to get back into reading it, or you just want to understand a little bit more. My dog is scratching over there, so you might hear his collar. Then you can follow along, and it's a little bit easier. You don't feel like you're in the wilderness trying to figure this out. Alright, so we're going to start. So Ecclesiastes is in the Old Testament, which if you didn't know is, Bible is Old Testament and New Testament. Old Testament is before Jesus, New Testament is his life and after. So, Ecclesiastes, who they think the author is Solomon, but there's a little bit of debate over it, but I just wanted to share that with you in case you were curious. I am reading out of an ESV Bible, which is the English Standard Version. I'm going to start, and I'm not going to read it all line by line, but I'm going to point out certain verses that I have. So if you want to read the whole thing, you could do that after, or pause this video and read it now. Alright, enough chit chat, let's get into it. So, Ecclesiastes is all about kind of vanity, and the author is really talking about how the things of this world will never satisfy you. And it's so fascinating to me because I feel like I'm at a point in my life where I have to have it all figured out. I have to figure out my career, I have to figure out this and this and this, and who I'm going to marry and all the things, and is it bad that I don't have a boyfriend yet, and all this, when at the end of the day, even though it matters, and it matters to God, it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. So, chapter 1 is kind of all about the frailty of this world. So, a couple verses I wanted to point out. He gets right to it in the beginning, so he wastes no time. And in chapter 1, verse 5, it says, "The sun rises and the sun goes down and hastens to the place where it rises." And then 6 is, "The wind blows south, it goes around north, and it goes around and around, the wind just keeps going." And all of that is just talking about how life is going. It's always going fast. And there's a routine. And while we may come and go, that routine isn't going to change until, Jesus returns again. The rapture happens and all that. But, the sun goes up and down and up and down. And it's done that for generations, so on and so forth. And we'll do that after we die. My point in this verse that I find so interesting is, so often we think the world revolves around us. Not even in a selfish way. I mean, sometimes, but what I mean is more in a self-conscious way. Oh my gosh, I have to figure this out. And we act as if, mankind is doomed if we don't figure out our career path, or our lives are ruined if we don't this or this or this. And it's relax. The sun's going to keep rising and falling with or without you. That doesn't mean you're not important and loved. And chapter 1, verse 8 says, "All things are full of weariness. A man cannot utter it. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing." I think that is so profound in a way. It sounds so simple, but like this was written, they think like the 10th century BC, before Christ, and like that's a long time ago. And even then they understood that we're never satisfied here. Like, we are never happy. No matter what we could have, like monetary goods or people or anything like that, we're never happy if that's what we're chasing. Your eye is never satisfied. Your ear is never filled. And then one of my favorite verses is, what has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done, and there is nothing new under the sun. First of all, I think that's very poetic, but I like that verse because if you think about today and all the problems that happen today, I think a lot of people, especially in the Christian community, can look at this world and think like, wow, it's never been this bad before, like it's never been this like corrupt or so-and-so or whatever. But that's not true. Like, can we look at like ancient Egypt and the Romans and all of that? Sodom and Gomorrah, people, like, not only can you take a little bit of comfort in knowing that like people have figured this out once before and survived, but also like none of this is new to God either, because not only does he know everything that's ever going to happen, but you know, society's kind of on a repeat cycle of sin. We tend to go towards the same sins over and over. And chapter 1 verse 13 says, "And I applied my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven." And this is just pointing out that the author is going after wisdom. He is asking God for wisdom. And the note I have here is, when God gives you an understanding of wisdom, you realize just how fleeting this world really is. And I think that's so, true. Obviously, I wrote it down. King says, "I have seen everything that is done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after the wind." This is for me to try to depress you or make you think, like, what's the point then? Why should I even work? No, I'm just saying, like, if you make anything of this world your number one priority, your number one goal above God, you will destroy yourself. Like, you will be chasing after wind and never able to catch it, because you will never be able to catch satisfaction or true fulfillment unless it is from the Lord, because nothing is solid like the Lord. And then verse 17 says, "And I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly." I thought this was interesting because when you ask God to help you understand wisdom and to give you wisdom, your eyes are going to be open to how foolish this world can be and how foolish people really are. Because it's kind of like something over your eyes, like you're just a little bit blinded to it when you are, because you're one of the fools yourself. But when you're asking God for wisdom, it's like he takes those scales off your eyes and you can just see, like, this is all meaningless. Like, chasing after these earthly things are meaningless. I should be chasing after this. Like, and so, like, to be prepared when you ask for wisdom, that you're also you're gonna see things. Like, you're gonna see how you have been a fool in the past. You're gonna see how other people are being fools around you. And you're also going to see, like, how fleeting the things of this world are. And 18, going along with that, says, "For in much wisdom is much vexation, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow." It kind of reminds me of the idea of, like, you know, when you have an open heart, you are going to be hurt, but you're also going to have the capability of loving people strongly and being able to be loved. Versus when you are completely shut down, you won't get hurt, but you also you won't feel love, you'll feel nothing. It's kind of like that with wisdom, in my mind, is, you know, you could stay completely out of the loop, you could stay a fool in your own mind, be happy, or what you think is happy, but you don't really know anything. You don't really, because there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom surpasses knowledge, you know, tenfold. And so, you know, you can just be ignorant to it, but when you know wisdom, when God gives you that wisdom, everything makes sense, and it's the most incredible feeling to feel like things just make more sense and you understand why things are the way they are, and why, while everything in this world that we could strive after is fleeting, there is hope and there is peace knowing that we can chase after God and that is not fleeting. But you also know sorrow. You will also know the realities of this world and how sad it is when people, they don't want to know knowledge. They don't want to understand it. Starting in chapter 2 is all about self-indulgence. So the author decides to, with his wisdom, take part in every indulgence of the earth that people could enjoy and try and see if there's any kind of satisfaction that can be gained from just earthly things, basically. He says in verse 3, I searched with my heart how to cheer my body with wine, my heart still guiding me. My heart still guiding me with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly, till I might see what was good for the children of man to do under heaven during the few days of their life. And so it just starting out, he's literally like, well, people like drinking. I'll try that. What's fun to do down here when people don't have God? Like, that's literally what he's testing out. Like, can you even have a fulfilled life, like, at all? Or even pretend to have one, not having anything to do with God and just doing things of man. So he tries drinking wine, and it doesn't work out. And then verses 4 through 10, I'm going to read these kind of quickly. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks and planted them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female servants and had slaves who were born in my house. I also had great possessions of herds and flocks, more than any who had been before me in Jerusalem. I also gathered for myself silver and gold and the treasure of kings and provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and many concubines, the delight of the sons of man. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me, and whatever my eyes desired I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all my toil, and this was my reward for my toil. So that's all of 4 through 10. So basically talking, he literally let himself have everything. Like, I will get all the riches, I will get all the people, I will get all the love, I will get everything I could possibly have, and build things, and have work, and all this, and be happy, and food, and drink, and all this. And then in 11 it said, then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had expended in doing it. Behold, all was vanity, and striving after the wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun. He literally had every monetary thing. He had everything. And he still had wisdom during this time. And with his wisdom, he realized none of this compares to having God. None of this compares to having wisdom. Like, this is nothing. He had everything, guys. Like, that blows my mind, because we're so often in this society chasing after money or fame or success or financial stability or anything like this. But like, the thing is, even when you get there, there's going to be something else. Like, if you don't have God, you're always going to be just chasing the wind. And then in 2:16 it says, for of the wise as of the fools there is no enduring remembrance, seeing that in the days to come all will have been long forgotten, how the wise dies just like the fool. And I mean, this is kind of hard truth, but it just says, like, we're all going to die. Whether you're rich or poor, whether you're wise or a fool, whether you are anything, whether you decide to be happy in your life or sad in your life, you're going to die. And, for the most part, people aren't going to remember you. You're not going to leave really anything behind that's going to be remembered forever, because you can't. You're just a person. Only God can. And that doesn't mean you can't make an impact for good. But any lasting impact is only when God works through you, not your own works. 2:18 says, I hated all my toil in which I toil under the sun, seeing that I must leave it to the man who will come after me. And who knows whether he will be wise or a fool. Yeah, this sucks. But, like, it's kind of dumb. Whoop, notebook down. It's kind of dumb to live for your work. Like, just to live for the money you can make and the legacy you can make, because you're gonna die and you can't take it with you. And even if you leave it to somebody, who knows, like, if they're gonna take care of it, like, you don't have a say in that when you die. And so if you live for that, wow, that's gonna be a waste, because you have nothing to gain in eternity for just the works that you did solely for the purpose of earth. All right, and then 2:24 says, there is nothing better for a person than that he should eat and drink and find enjoyment in his toil. This also I saw is from the hand of God. For apart from him, who can eat or who can have enjoyment? And I love this because it gives a little bit of hope back into it that, no, you should still work. You should still eat. You should still drink. It's not like you should just sit in a corner and say, this world is worthless, what's the point? But I think that's the thing, is the only time you can really enjoy your work is when you take it with a grain of salt. When you know that this is not your eternal work, this is your work here on earth for a time, but you don't have to put so much pressure on it, which is why you can enjoy it. You can enjoy your food, and you can enjoy, doing things you love and all that, because when you're not putting them as your idol, you can enjoy them. But when you put them as your idol, you will always be stressed out, because they'll never measure up, because they can't be God. End of chapter 3, it's just talking about seasons. You've probably heard these verses before, but I'm going to read them to you really quick. This is 3, verses 2 through 8. For everything there's a season and a time for everything under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. All of that is literally just to say, there's never going to be a time in your life where you're just happy all the time, because seasons exist for a reason, and they're just going to be what they are. You don't have to understand every season. You don't have to understand why everything is happening to you. Just know that, like, this is life. Like, if life is like this, then you're not alive. You know what I mean? Like, think about it as one of those, like, beeping charts in the doctor's office that I don't understand. But when you're in, like, the hospital, when it goes beep, beep. But if you're going like this, you're dead. So, like, you need these seasons. Like, that's how it is in life. Like, that's what life is. Life is full of ups and downs. And 3:11 says, he has made everything beautiful in its time. I love that because, I talk all about sometimes, like, how, we are always comparing ourselves to other people's timing. We're always comparing ourselves to, well, she's in her dream job, I should be in mine now too. Or they're married, I should be married now too. I don't even have a boyfriend yet. Like, I must be behind. It's not going to happen for me. Everything is beautiful in its time. And its time is God's time. If you put it in your time, then it's not going to be beautiful. But if you put it in God's time, it'll be beautiful. It will be. 3:12, I perceive that there's nothing better for them than to be joyful and to do good as long as they live. It is good to be joyful. It is good to be happy in what you're doing. And like I said before, that's because you don't have to make an idol out of anything of this earth. You can just enjoy it freely, knowing that if it went away, you would still be okay. You would still have God. And then the last one I'm going to say, last verse is, that which is already has been, and that which is to be already has been, and God seeks what has been driven away. I love this because the first part of that verse just reminds me of the idea of free will versus redemption again. What is what has been, and what has been is what will be, or whatever, because no matter what decision you choose, God always knew. And God always knows, and God will always fix whatever you have messed up. Like, none of it is a surprise, and somehow it always works out for the best. And then God seeks what has been driven away. God will always go after you. God will never stop pursuing you and loving you. And the rest of chapter 3 was all about, you know, enjoy your time here, but don't live for your time here. Live for eternity, knowing that if at any point this time was taken away on Earth, it's okay. Right, I know this video is a little bit lengthy, but I love going through this book. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And the next time I'll talk about, like, Ecclesiastes, probably like next week, I will do probably 4 through like 6 or something like that. But I love you guys so much. Please comment below what you think about chapters 1 through 3 and your thoughts on them. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Love you. Bye.